Hello and welcome to Nebula Talks. Before we begin, we have a few updates and reminders for you. We would love to have you be part of our Nebula community. And you can do so by logging on to www.nebula.com, where you can join communities related to your area of interest, register for upcoming Nebula Talks, book one-to-one skylifts, and view other upcoming events. You can also take this opportunity to connect with fellow learners or the speaker by sending a connection request. When you connect with the speaker, you will be able to contact them directly as well as receive updates about their upcoming talks. Kindly note that during the session, you will not be able to switch on your camera or unmute your mic. To ask questions during the talk, go to the audience chat, type your question, and select Post Your Question. If your question has not been answered during the talk, you will be notified once it's been answered, or if your question has not been answered during the talk, you can go to www.nebula.com and spin a quest, and your questions will be answered. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this talk broadens your horizons and takes you to new learning heights.
So even before, during my 12th standard itself, I know I love computer and I want to pursue a career in computer science, but I was not good at anything. Like I don't know any coding or I have no idea about any such stuff. But I was pretty sure like I want to be in tech and I want to develop some products. And that's why I chose the B.Tech in computer science. And when I did my bachelor's, I took a 1 year to just figure out like what's my passion or which direction should I move and everything like that. And once I explored that, I was pretty sure like, okay, this is the kind of job I need. I need to be in a product based company. I want to develop certain products that help some users. So like from pretty that day onwards, I started working towards that goal.
Okay. So you've been through your own experiences in terms of getting hands-on knowledge and experience. Maybe let's talk about your days of internship. How did you go about applying for that internship, and what were you thinking at that point of time?
Yeah, for the internship, I really have to thank to my university LPU because they were the one who got me an opportunity there.
Mhm.
And it was really surprising for me because it was the perfect company for me to start my career because they were working with advanced search and recommendations, machine learning and the NLP, such stuff. And that's my core passion. That's all I wanted to do, like in whole my career. So that was the perfect match for me. And for the interview, I did prepared like for a month for that interview. I got the internship, and from there I learned a lot about machine learning, how the work and how the studies are different. Like I got experience that on first hand, and that opened up my mind actually.
So maybe let's talk about the kind of work that you were doing your internship, and how was it, since you mentioned that it's different from your work at the college or the classes that you attend. So can you maybe compare those two?
Yeah. So first thing is the life is entirely different than what you can imagine as a work, because in a product based companies, the work culture is pretty much relaxed. You don't have to be in your formals. You don't have to come at 9 o'clock and leave at 5 or nothing like that. It's pretty cool and chill life. Like you can come at any time. You just need to do your work, and you can like have a good bonding with all your colleagues. And most all of your colleagues will be like pretty genius, and you can learn a lot from them. And from them I learned like nobody's going to like teach you something. It's all about exploring, all about like using your ideas and implementing it, and how to scaling up all the products. It's not just theoretical thing. You have to scale all the codes or stuff you're building it up. So learning that, and it's a big learning curve. And once you know like how to do that learning part, it will really help you to like crack anything in your path.
Right. So I understand at one point of time you were thinking about pursuing your master's and higher
Yes.
studies,
Yeah.
and then it didn't happen. Let's talk about that story.
Yeah, so my plan was basically to work in an abroad country by the year 2022,
Mhm.
and I want to pursue a master's in 2020, so that 2 years I will do my master's, and after that I will get a job in 2020. So that was my plan, and I started applying in 2019. I did my IELTS and GRE, everything. I was applying to Canada, Germany, and all. And after that, at particular time, we got that COVID-19 situation, and they changed everything to online classes and stuff. But for me, the point of pursuing masters was to go into the country, explore the culture, make new connections, and have that experience. And I believe it will not happen while we do online. So I dropped the plan of masters, and from there onwards I started to prepare myself, like how can I get directly from here to abroad without any masters. So that's how I went for that.
Okay. So Germany is not one of the countries most of the software engineers think about pursuing a job overseas, right?
Yeah.
So how did it happen that you turned your gaze towards Germany and happened to go on board with your current employer, who's also based here? So how did that happen?
So it's an interesting story because for me, the goal was to go abroad in some European countries. So I was targeting mostly UK, Germany, Netherlands, and I was preparing for all the big companies for that. And I was lucky enough to get offers from multiple countries, but I choose Germany because first of all, Germany has a very good socio-economic culture, and work culture is pretty good. Like you don't want to get exhausted by working here, especially it's a new place, new culture. You don't want to be stuck in like some rat race. So here I feel like it's awesome to have a job, and it's good enough, like payment is good enough, your colleagues are amazing, and the country itself is really pretty good. So I thought it's a good option, and it's easy to settle in future also.
Right. So one of the things that I'm sure that you must be experiencing, and since you mentioned, like, the culture of social welfare, right, and the
Yeah.
culture of having a right balance. So in those terms, what's the difference that you have felt, like, because you had a little bit of exposure of work in India as well, and then you are working now here. So what's the fundamental difference that you feel is there?
Yeah, so the fundamental difference is in India, we usually prefer like because we are brought up in a way that we give high preference to our either for our education or our for our career and stuff. So whenever works comes up, we just sacrifice most of our time and we do the work, even though it's not asked by anyone, but we just have that tendency to work more, perform more than what is expected and stuff like that. But when I came here, it's not even an expectation. Nobody expects you to work more than certain hours. Nobody expects you to do like a super hard job and stuff. Everyone expects to you have a good life first, then your career later. So I believe like as we grow and we get more older, like having a good work life balance is really important, and
Yeah.
that's something like it's guaranteed here.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. In the end, you can't really fault the Germans in working hard and playing hard.
Yeah.
So I think that they get it pretty right over here.
Yes.
So one of the things being that you prepared for your interviews, maybe you can shed some light on that. That how did you first of all go about selecting the companies? Because you mentioned that even there you took your time to identify the right fit employers and then preparing for the interview. So maybe you can walk us and the audiences through the process.
Yeah, so that's something I learned from my B.Tech times, because when we do B.Tech or when while we are in college, all we think about is we need to get some job or we need to get some X amount of packages and stuff like that. But what I learned is we should actually work on something that we really love about. Otherwise, at some point, you will get bored of that or you will hate it, and it will be a very difficult situation later on. So for me, like my passion is with machine learning and NLPs, all those kind of language models and stuff. And I always prefer to work with a team who does that.
Hmm.
So that's why like when I apply to certain companies, I make sure like they have this particular team, they have particular requirements of my skill set, then only I will apply it to them, even though the company might be like really good or really amazing to go, but they don't have certain team that I wanted, I will not apply to that.
Right.
So even in my B.Tech, like while placements were going on, like I didn't apply to certain big companies because they don't have certain need for me. So I didn't apply for that. So that's the same methodology I used here. So I applied for all the companies they have this skill, and while I was interviewing, I got the offers. I really did research like where I can have a good career growth. How are the colleagues there? If we need to have a good learning curve also there, like we need to have a good collaboration and stuff.
Right.
So overall, like I felt like my current company is the best to grow because everyone is like in a learning phase. Everyone is always learning, always researching, and that's something I can also learn from them. Yeah, that's it.
Right. Right. So, in terms of, you mentioned that teams which have a requirement for a certain specific role. So, how did you research that? How did you identify? Did you take up certain interviews just to, like, see that if you are yet there at the level of preparation?
Yeah, obviously. So I started my preparation around 2021, starting like January, February,
Mhm.
because I know like I haven't studied anything for like past 4 years after my graduation. So I know like it will take some time to like get to the studies environment while working full time. So it took me like couple of months to just to get started, and while getting started I made a good curriculum for myself, like what to study, which part to focus and everything. So while studying, what I do is like I apply for some companies in India, mostly in India, where they will call me for interview. I'll just attend it because I just want to know like if I'm ready to give an actual interview for the companies I'm targeting for. So it's a give and take where you can learn, like sometimes even if we learn a lot, but during the interviews you will go like you will be completely blank even though you know answers. So just to avoid those fears and stuff, I gave a lot of mock interviews, some real interviews. I was just preparing myself, and after a certain point when I'm confident enough, like I scheduled with the companies which I'm targeting for, and
Okay.
I was lucky enough to crack them.
So, you would have targeted companies from different countries, right?
Yes.
Different locations, work locations as well. So, if you can, like, maybe talk about which companies, which countries, and, like, what was the surprises that were there, or the things that you felt like was sharing with the audience.
Yeah, so like obviously like I had like couple of like high targeted companies and some safe companies like I wanted to apply. So I
Mhm.
applied in UK for multiple companies, and one of them is Facebook.
Mhm.
In Amsterdam I applied for booking.com and some other several other companies. In
Mhm.
Germany also a couple of startups
Mhm.
and a couple of like e-commerce websites and
Mhm.
stuff. And in Austria also I have applied, in Canada also.
Mhm.
And so most of the countries which is ready to provide visa, I got like interview calls. I got calls from Facebook. I got interview call from Microsoft,
Mhm.
Google,
Mhm.
even Amazon also. And I
Mhm.
have cracked. I got offers from Amazon and Facebook,
Mhm.
which was surprising. And the most surprising one was the Zoom offer, like, because I didn't apply for Zoom, and
Okay.
he contacted me through like LinkedIn, and reached me. So that's one surprising way. So that's something I found out, like if your profile is good enough, the higher recruiters will come to you at
Right.
certain point. So I got like multiple recruiters who came to me without even applying.
Yeah.
And because of this all interviews going together and my preparation was at the right time, so I was is like it was not much of a pressure for me to attend all these interviews, and it was good, like to like know a good balance of this.
Okay. Okay. So, in terms of your, once you got an offer from Zoom, and there would be some part which is to do with administrative processes, visa, then other requirements as such. How much of overhead was that?
To be frank, it was really easy for me because Zoom has provided me a visa consultation. They were providing me everything. So I just need to send them my documents. Apart from that, nothing, because they have provided me all the steps and all the necessary law and stuff like visa stuff and everything. So I just need to follow their procedures. That's it. And it was not a headache because I got my visa and everything within like 1 month or within 40 days, I would say. It was quite easy.
Okay. So, as part of the visa process and protocols, was somebody assisting you in India or not?
For me, like the team was located in Germany, and they told me like what to do in India and how to apply, like book your slots and when you have to go for that visa interview and stuff like that. And I
Mhm.
just followed their steps, and I just got into, like, it was very quick for me.
Okay. So, again, one of the like great things of being in Germany and many other European nations is this, that the visa process is relatively simple compared to other places.
Yes.
Yeah, there are not many ifs and buts. Another thing that I would like to talk to you about is the part which is to do with the interview process. How many rounds, and what all is sort of
Yeah.
covered in those rounds, and how does one go about preparing for those?
So basically, most of the product companies, they will have around four technical rounds and one behavioral round. So
Mhm.
this is pretty standard for most of the companies. There could be plus or minus one round, like there could be three or five maybe, but usually it is four technical round and one behavioral round.
Mhm.
So in the technical round, what happens is, since I already have 3 to 4 years of experience, three of them were coding rounds and one was system design round.
Mhm.
So it was like system design. I have to prepare myself. They will ask like how to build certain big products, like maybe design Instagram or how YouTube works and stuff like that. And you should have a deep knowledge of all the components and how your brain works. They are not looking for the right answer. They're looking for how you think and what's your way of thinking that. And other three coding rounds are pretty same. They follow data structure and algorithms. You just have to solve questions they are asked. So it will be like either one hard question or two medium level question. And
Mhm.
this is pretty standard for all the companies. And there'll be a behavioral question to analyze, like if you will fit with the culture of the company, and what is the way of your thinking about, like in a managerial perspective or in a casual way and stuff like that. Yeah, even most of the people will think that's an easy round, but that's also something we have to take care of and prepare for it. Yeah, and yeah, that's more about it.
Okay. So thanks for sharing that again, Yasir. One of the things is most of the people perceive that once you've gotten the offer, you land here in Germany or in an overseas destination, and that's it. But for people like us who have been here, we understand that's the first milestone, right? And then they start with the challenges, right? So,
Yes.
what are the challenges that you're facing, and the challenges that you would want to give heads up to all the people aspiring to work in international locations?
Yeah. So like when coming to Germany, like after landing here, first thing you will notice is that not much people will speak English. So
Mhm.
you have to know some basic German, but it doesn't mean you have to learn a new language and come here. Nothing like that. I just prefer to learn on the go. So when you need certain stuff, like do some Google Translate and learn that and use that. So it was a big barrier for me. Then finding an apartment to stay, because of a lot of housing crisis and stuff. Finding an apartment is also difficult.
Mhm.
And after all this stuff, the biggest thing is, since you are here alone and you need to have a good community support here. Without a community support, without a good social circle, it's always, you will get so lonely at certain point of time. So
Yeah.
it's important for you to get out, find new people, like you should do all the ice breaking stuff and like have a good circle of friends from different countries and different cultures. That will also help you to learn a lot of new stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to do that because I got to learn a lot of new stuff from different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we really loved about you is that how open to communicate and build a community you are, and that's what we are also all about at Nibila, building communities. And I understand, and thank you for bringing that up because it's such an important thing. Another very good point that you brought in terms of accommodation, right? Because it's such a big headache. It feels like, yeah, in the end, it's just an apartment, right? But one of the things being this, that for regulatory reasons, your apartment or the address is tied to everything. Your the local district authority registration. That registration itself is then used by anything and everything that you go further, health insurance and such. So thank you for bringing these points up right now.
Sure.
what are your plans going ahead? Do you see yourself like, going to become like sort of a permanent resident here? Or like, are you thinking about those things? I know language is one of the concerns, but putting that aside, like, what's your vision for the future?
Yeah, so my plan currently is to get a permanent resident here, and language is a barrier, but I wouldn't say it's a difficult barrier because once you put your mind into it, like it's not that hard to crack it. Like
Right,
getting basic knowledge is not that difficult, I believe.
right,
So yeah,
right.
I'm looking forward to it. Especially as a software engineer, it's easy for us to get a permanent resident here because
Yeah.
we have a little bit more preference over others.
Yeah. Also, I would like to share with the audience. Actually, it's so as a software engineer, we are privileged, and it's not that it's not true for others. So for others, just the barrier to entry becomes a little higher. So you yourself are a blue card applicant right now, and you'll soon have it. And blue card is for highly skilled individuals. Software engineers qualify, scientists qualify, doctors as such qualify for the blue card programs. But even if you're not, it's not that you do not qualify, it's just that what your employer pays you needs to be a little more than like rest of these in demand or understaffed professions. So again, that's a very good point that you brought about. And overall, as you said, that life and social welfare system in Germany is very high, compared to places like United States. So maybe one of the things that we can talk about is, if you have, now that you are here and you applied for other countries, do you what do you feel about it? Do you feel like, it's better, and that, like, like surprisingly you got lucky or something like that?
So no, so like previously I worked in Bangalore, so like I know what a big city is and how crowded and how stuff everything is there. So like when I get offers from London or Amsterdam, I can imagine like how big or how crowded it could be.
Yeah,
So right now I'm in a city where everything is so peaceful. Like it's really surprising how peaceful it is, and
yeah,
it's easy for me to travel to any other countries also. Like I could visit Paris or like I could go to Switzerland anywhere like within few hours.
yeah,
So it's a privilege for me to live in a certain city where it's all accessible, but
yeah,
I'm not in the middle of any
yeah,
crowd or anything.
yeah.
So it's kind of a
And
perfect place. Yeah.
yeah, and plus the famous €9 ticket that Germany is offering right now. Yeah,
Yeah, we have that advantage of €9 ticket per month, so you can travel anywhere
yeah,
just with €9.
yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? Like, there's certain things which are out of the world per se over here, which otherwise nobody would believe if you tell them, right? Yeah. So that's great, Yasir. Apart from it, like, with respect to, since you said that if you, like, talk about language, right? So German is definitely, like, it's one thing which will make your life easier, or a lot easier. But apart from it, would you say, like, for destinations like this, like, having a certain level of proficiency in English is also necessary?
Yeah, having English is always good because let's say like all the new generation they speak English, and English is a way you can like talk to anyone in any country. So that's one thing you can say, or you can be confident that it could be a common factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having English is really good for you. It will be an asset.
All right. Right. Coming to the part where in your employer is concerned, right? So, what benefits or perks do you see which, like, generally are offered here, or the sort of, like, life which is offered here, which is above or starkly different from what happens, let's say, in with employers in India? So something that you can, like,
Yeah, for that, I don't have like a good differentiating point because both the companies I worked, like even in India or here, both are product-based companies, and all the product-based companies have this habit of giving you all the good perks,
yeah,
and your life will be actually kind of good, and they will provide you all the stuffs you needed.
mhm,
And I'm enjoying both the perks, like whatever I received in India or whatever I'm receiving here, it was there in both the places, so it's kind of good. But I
yeah,
believe that it only happens for product based companies, but if you are into the service based companies, it's an entirely different story in India and here. So
Right.
here it is far better than compared to India,
Yeah.
but I'm not an expert on that. So
Okay. So one of the things, like irrespective of whether you are in products and services, which people talk about, is the thing around work boundaries, right?
mhm,
That like, once you are out of office, you are out of office here. Yeah,
yes,
like your managers or like your peers and colleagues would not be pinging you, would not be calling you unless and until it's a case of emergency, and even then, so has that also been your experience?
yeah. So here, like I've seen like people who everyone has their own time period of working. Like some people start working at 7 a.m. and they finish at 2 p.m. Some starts working at 10 or 11 o'clock and finishes at 5 or 6 p.m. But it's all about their personal preference. They just work, and once they are done. Like nobody's going to like ping them or call them for anything unless it's really emergency. But in India it's usually like you will keep on working even though like you think like if you work a lot people, like others will consider you as more hardworking or more some things like that. But here if you overwork, people will think you like you're crazy or something like that, not a hardworking guy. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
big difference.
that's sort of true. Yeah, they also it's a bit of a German thing that what they call the famous efficiency, the German efficiency. That if you are working too long, then maybe you don't really know what you're doing. So that's also somewhat of a perception, right?
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
feel that's really a good point because you also need to get out of your work zone and you have to have a life outside of your work.
that's
So
right.
it helps you.
Yeah. Right. So yes, so that's actually quite good. Now coming to the part of like you spoke about community and the fact that you need to network and build bridges, right?
Yes.
So how can most of the newcomers do that? Let's say from India and from other places who land here and start their life over here. So what sort of an advice can you give for those guys?
Yeah, so in my case, I started with some communities in Instagram or Facebook.
Hmm.
And I will just join them and there is something called meetups also. Like you can just go and participate in all this stuff wherever people are meeting up. If you see some fellow Indians or if you see any other people you are in, like you interested or you can connect with them. Just go and talk to them. Just break the ice because at one point they are also looking for certain company. We are also looking for certain company. So just break the ice, talk to them, and then gradually you will build a network. It's not like in one day you can have everything, but it's
Hmm.
a gradual process. Like each day if you meet someone, and it's a way of building community. So like after reaching here I got to meet a lot of people, especially few people from my hometown which I didn't expected to meet also. It was surprising, but now we have a good community here. Yeah, that's
Okay.
all.
Oh, that's great. In fact, that's one of the things that most, because in India, community is by default, right? That
Yes.
you don't really have to put an effort into like meeting people or having communities around you. Also, you are being born and brought up there, so it's much easier. Here, this requires some effort and some commitment as well. As you said yourself, that you have can't happen in one day, right? You have to have those connections, alive on like somewhat of a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, Yasir, thanks for sharing all this. Now, moving to our segment of audience questions, which is again you have a fan following for sure. Yeah. So ever since we've done the talk, like we've seen like the numbers climb up to 500 and 600 people interested in your talk, and LPU campus already has your photographs all over the campus. So
Wow.
yeah, whether yeah, but again, and the thing being this that uh, this like brings us to the part that where a lot of people would like you to provide some of the answers to the things that they're thinking. So one of our audience wants to know is what role does coding, programming, and core engineering skills and internships, I'm guessing that he or she meant internships in these specific areas, play with respect to getting a job in Germany or other European countries?
So coding is something, it's a core skill you need to have as a software engineer. Like you need to able to solve problems. So
Mhm.
for that you need to know coding, but it's not limited to any programming language or anything. It's all up to you, like which language you like. You just be good at that particular skill.
Mhm.
You should know good data structures and algorithms and how to solve the problem. So this is the most important stuff. Like if you apply to any companies,
Mhm.
if you are as a fresher or if you're experienced or if you have 10 years of experience, anything, you need this coding and data structure and algorithm skills. So
Mhm.
this is the first interview rounds you will always have. Like all the technical rounds are about coding and stuff. So it's really important to know that.
Okay. Um, Besides that, since work experience is brought up and internships are brought up, generally speaking, in India, and like even since we are actively engaged in employing software engineers in the company itself, we see a lot of students applying for internships or for apprenticeship and full-time opportunities. But what we also have felt that people fall short, especially when it comes to application, right? So they may understand core concepts, but the application part is missing. So what can you advise on that front that people can do to improve this?
This is something even I also faced during my second and third year. So first thing like you all have to think about is like it's not just you are applying. It's like let's say thousands of applications are going to a certain company, right? How
Mhm.
can you stand out of that crowd? Like how can you be unique in that thousands of applications? So what I think is like if you have a lot of core skills, if you're good at anything, but there'll be like other hundreds of candidates who are also good at that. So for me at that as a student, what you can do is have a good projects, have good projects where you can demonstrate, okay, you have did some particular stuff. Let's say for example, you are applying for a machine learning internship or something like that. You
Mhm.
have to have couple of 2 to 3 projects where you demonstrate like how much effort you have given to implementing machine learning in that project, so that the recruiters can easily like you will be very unique to them because you just don't write skills as machine learning. You have some proof of concept to say like you know it very well. So similarly for anything, if you want to be a front end designer, show some projects which has good designing projects and stuff like that. If you want to be a back end, have another project which is related to that. So you should apply your skill in a very good project, and those projects should be unique. It should not be something you see from YouTube or Google and just copy paste it. It should not be that. It should be something unique to you, so that you can really explain that. Because I remember certain couple of my interviews. This is during my
Mhm.
B.Tech time. So it's a 1 hour interview where they are supposed to ask you coding question. But because of my project, the whole 1 hour was discussing about my project only. And since it was done by me, I was very comfortable about that. I can like talk about it for hours and days and months.
Yeah.
So they really liked it. So they offered me. So it's a very big advantage if you have a good projects.
Okay. So yeah, that's one of the things that we also actively do. That instead of talking about generic algorithms or data structure problems and things like that, we specifically talk about the work people have done, and which is a very good indicator of that you've actually done it yourself and you applied yourself. So yeah, that's a great advice. Another question that there is what extra skills did you acquire to get a job in Germany besides the core engineering and technical skills?
I didn't like did anything special just for this particular part. But what I have to say is like all my previous experience, it's a skill growing stuff. Like all my past experience helped me to grow more skills,
Mhm.
and I use that skills in a good way in my resume, in my interviews to tell them a good story, like how good I am at particular stuff. So that's the way of showcasing your skill. Because I'm an experienced software engineer, that's why. But if you're a fresher, the best way is to like showcase in a project and stuff so that you can tell a story about that. So that's how I build the stuff. And one thing is like if you're applying for certain or new roles or something like that, you have in experience, so try to learn some new stuff about that and do some project so that you can explain that skill set also.
Yeah. So from this, I'm sorry, I have a bit of a follow-up question, right? So the thing we have also seen is this. good candidates, good technical skills, but cannot explain, cannot put their thoughts together, cannot put the thoughts in the universal language, which is English.
Yeah.
So, how much of that is needed, and what can candidates do to practice?
Yeah, that is also a very important part of an interview, because like you said, even I also know friends who are like super genius, who knows data structure and algorithm like a water to them, but they are not able to explain it in the interview, and they just don't get the opportunity. So I have seen such thing. So what I do for that is, so while I'm preparing for interviews, while I'm studying, I will always write whatever I'm studying in a notebook. So in a notebook, while I write, I will just talk to myself, okay, this is the way to think for this, because of all these data structures going here, that. So I just talk to myself and I do that. I try to record my video, like explaining that to someone else. And it's kind of awkward at the first, like when you like record yourself telling
Right.
all this stuff and all. But at some point you will get used to it. Like you can even have a YouTube vlogging. Just you just vlog whatever you're studying. It will also help you, because in interview they are not looking for like how good you can code, or like each line by line, nothing. It's the 80% of stuff happens like how you explain it,
Mhm.
what is your thinking process. So you need a really good communication to that. Without practice it will never come. So
Mhm.
you have to practice is like 10-15 times before an interview, and then it will be good for you. Yeah. So
Right.
practice makes it perfect. Yeah.
Right, right. And it also is demonstrative of that you can collaborate with other team members, right?
Yeah.
So, which is like most of the part of your job, right? You can't work in a silo. Yeah. Okay. Another one is this, that how easy is it to get a remote job in Germany for freshers? Now, I don't know like whether how much of an understanding or expertise you would have, but maybe we can talk about also that did you try or think about remote jobs before applying for this, and what's your experience?
Yeah, so I think getting remote job is not that difficult, but you should know like where to apply and what to expect. You
Hmm.
cannot expect to get a remote job from a very high companies like MNCs and stuff.
Hmm.
Mostly, as per my information, like I know startups are hiring Indians for the remote job, because
Hmm.
I have a friend who is a co-founder of a startup,
Hmm.
and he's hiring software engineers from India mostly
Hmm.
as a remote job. So most of the startups do that. So
Hmm.
you could apply to startups, and in different, like I know from Austria and Germany there are a lot of startups hiring for remote jobs. And yeah, again they all need to like need to see your skill set and stuff like that. So yeah, you could apply in that way.
Okay. And how much of an upside or a downside would you say is there for a fresher to go for a remote job? Like, what do you see as a pro and a con for a fresher, especially that since the
Yeah.
audience mentioned freshers?
Yeah. First of all, I would not recommend anyone to do remote job. Even
Yeah.
though it sounds convenient, it sounds cool, it sounds everything, but you will miss a major part of work culture experience. You will miss a major part of collaborating with your team. The online work is never equal to your face-to-face interactions, or like your actual experience and communicating. So that's the important. As a fresher, it's very important for you to gain a lot of knowledge in first 1 or 2 years. So you
Mm.
will know what's the world out there, how are the people, how are the teams with you, what are the fun activities you can have, and all the talks you can have in your office. So that's a certain experience you can't get anywhere, because during lockdown time I really missed my office. Like
Yeah.
I wish I was still in my office, because it was such a good time to be in office.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really miss that part. So that's why I'm saying like it's always better to start at in an actual work environment rather than remote.
Yeah. Well, I'm 100% in agreement with you on this one. I cannot agree more. Yeah, because what most of the people also don't understand is this, that look, an organization also provides you with insight into the business domain, right?
Yes.
Which is just not possible if you're remote. Then you
Yes.
just are a task master. You finish a task and that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for highlighting that. Uh, Popular question gets asked again and again. What are the strategies to crack interviews? I think it's a little generic, but if you have any special tips or insights for the audience.
Yeah. So what? So for all the product based companies, I believe this will apply to most of the product based companies. So what I do is I do lead code questions mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So I solved around 10, like I started with 1 or 2 questions per day, and I will gradually, like within 3 4 months, I will go to like 10 questions per day.
Mm-hmm.
So I will solve as much as questions possible. And while solving, what I will do is I will write in a notebook all the questions,
Mm-hmm.
how I solved it, what was my thinking process. Even one small answer, which is like 3 or 4 lines of code, I will write like 10 pages of notes about that, what
Okay.
I thought about it, everything stuff. So I did this for like 4 to 6 months or maybe to 10 months and all. So I will have a good bunk of knowledge with me. So like whenever I see new question, which is I never seen before, like my brain will automatically recognize the pattern. So it's all about practicing lead code. And for system design, you need to like refer some YouTube channels and some books, read a lot of technical books for system design, which is not applicable for freshers. It's only for like experienced guys. But for coding, it's always good to go with lead code and gigs for gigs, understand the concept, what's the logic. Also the best part is like you should rate others answer also. It's not like your answer is correct or wrong, but others answer might be way better, and you have to know like how they also thought about that answer. So it's a process, it will take a long time, but do that continuously with like without skipping even a single day. After particular time you will get used to it, and that will help you to crack the interview.
Okay. Um, so, in terms of sort of a question which you have already answered, but maybe you have like something further to add, that in terms of the work visa, once your employer has presented you with an offer, how much of that part is on you to do for the process in India, and what is up to the employer to do? Like, who does it fall upon to do?
Yeah. So for me, I have to do just two stuff. One is like I have to book an appointment with the embassy, like for a particular visa interview date,
Mhm.
uh, which is done online. Next
Mhm.
step, like I have to go there and attend the visa, application process and stuff. So I have to go to the embassy. So that's the only stuff I have to do, and all the documents I have to arrange will be provided to me. Like they will provide me the list of documents, and they will also give me particular German document that is required, like
Mhm.
employment contract and other German related like documents and stuff. So I have to just print it out and give it to the visa officer. So that's the whole task I have to do. Then just once you get the visa, book your flight and just come.
Okay. That's actually pretty straightforward. Yeah. So another question, which is, how did you do the research about the companies, like that which is the better employer? Like, where did you start? Like, are there specific portals, or because there's so much out there?
Yeah. So So for me, it was like mostly I want to know what is the, what would I say, like what company have the roles aligning with my skill set and stuff like that. So for example, like I know I want to apply to companies, they have machine learning teams, they have NLP related teams and stuff. So I just Google them. I Google like stuffs like how is the work culture there, what is the pay range, how is the life going on there, so is it a good in the long term, so stuffs like that. So you should have some 10 to 15 or 20 companies that you really target for, and I just applied for them in their websites and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good approach. Okay, final question, because otherwise the questions would keep on rolling in. So, final question: how far along are you in terms of your German language? How easy or difficult was it to get started with a new language?
Yeah, so I'm not at all proficient yet. So, but what I know is like I need to know. I know like how to go to grocery and buy stuff from there. That's an important part. How to
Right.
like how to get stuff that I needed. So I just know about that stuff only mostly, which is kind of a basic survival need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to have I have a couple of German friends now, so I hang out with them so that I will learn like how are they talking to each other, how can I give my input. Maybe if
Right.
I'm speaking wrongly and all, they will correct me. So that's
Right.
how I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Right. All right, Yasir. Thank you so much for all the insights. We cannot be thankful enough to you, and we'll have also a small gesture of thanks from our side. Please watch for it in your inbox. Soon enough, you'll receive that from us, and that's just a small gesture of appreciation. Also, that there would be a lot more of your fans asking you a lot more questions on the platform. So whenever you get time, it'll be great if you can answer those questions.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
Hopefully soon again once you are forward down talks down the line. Thank you so much, Yasir. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, it was pleasure to talk to you all also, and I hope like I was able to provide the answers that audience and you all are looking for.
Yeah,
And if you have any further question, yeah, you can hit me up on the Nebula platform. I will be happy to answer the questions. Sure.
sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you again, Yasir, and have a good day and or a great rest of the journey here in Germany. Please take care.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Have a good day, all. Have a good day.
All right, off with the scene.
Bye.
Bye.